In South Africa, we've seen the intersection of jazz and visual art. It's strong, with artists often collaborating across some disciplines to explore themes of struggle, identity and also community. Now, the legacy of these collaborations continues to shape artistic expression in the region. Events like Art and Jazz in Cape Town, it showcases this connection, featuring performances and exhibitions that blend the two art form. And so, co-curator and producer of the Art and Jazz Initiative, Palesa Segomotso Motsumi, and award-winning jazz vocalist Gabi Motuba joined us to perhaps share a little bit more about this event. So I'm going to welcome both at this hour. Good morning and thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. Having us.
Yeah,
thank you for having us.
Yeah.
All right, Palesa, you're virtual. I'm gonna start with you. Just getting involved in this initiative, the importance of it as well. Tell us a little bit more about your journey.
Thank you for having me. I started in the arts about 15 years ago, and I am really avid follower of jazz. So Art and Jazz came about when we discovered that there's a need for the cultural landscape in Cape Town to change and to merge visual arts and jazz in one space or several spaces in the future. And we've featured artists from Joburg, and obviously with Gabi coming to Cape Town as well, we are featuring her for the next Art and Jazz iteration. And we'd like to just invite people to come through to really buy tickets and support jazz in this country.
And that intersection, it's obviously plays to the different senses as well. And so, Gabi, I want to bring you to the conversation because obviously with your new album, The Sabbath, tell us a little bit more about what you're exploring. Even Sam Tlangetwa, the conversation that you're going to be having with him ahead of this initiative and what you're going to be putting forth.
Yes. So I'm very excited.
We're excited
to have this performance in Cape Town. And of course, for me, I'll be presenting The Sabbath, but in a little bit of a different iteration because of, the artistic aspect of it. I'm going to be exploring kind of different sounds, but it still stays true to The Sabbath. And I mean, I'm really excited also for this collaboration with Brasam, but also to have these two disciplines kind of cross-pollinating. This for me also speaks to sustainability within the arts, finding new ways of, creating a more cohesive industry. And, I think for me that is like really interesting, and I want to see how this can grow and this conversation can be had. And thank you so much also for Palesa for inviting me for this, the second iteration of the Art and Jazz.
Especially because it deals with such important issues. Well, I mean, through your album, The Sabbath of Grief and Healing, and the Sabbath is that day of rest. So I mean, this is obviously what you want to put forth for a society that is in desperate need of that mirror.
Correct.
And Palesa, I mean, you go about curating the lineup and getting the artists together and being part of all of that, Gabi being one of them, Sam Tlangetwa as well. Tell us about how intentional you are, how every frame and set has intention and purpose for us.
Art and Jazz is very intentional with its approach and curation of the artworks. The last iteration we had works by Blessing Gobeni, Mongezi Nkapai, some of the legendary artists in South Africa. And with this iteration, we wanted to actually bring our attention to Sam Tlangetwa's print portfolio that actually dedicates and celebrates jazz legends across the globe. And we have obviously Miriam Makeba in one of those prints that's been celebrated. And Gabi epitomizes this generation of jazz vocalists who really strike a balance between artistic expression and also really curated material. And we want to work with jazz musicians who express themselves in such a manner. And Art and Jazz is really intentional around how do we actually work with the artists and have a conversation around collaboration, community, and also enjoying good music.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially because you've seen the role that jazz has played in our own country for our liberation at large, and the plight continues, of course. You continue with the conversations. Beyond your music, you've got Sonic, your podcast, Sonic Conversations as well.
Yes.
What's the intention behind that as well? How do you also aim to foster healing through that?
I think, it's important for me as an artist to, how I came to jazz is more of like a philosophical understanding. You know, it's not something that ends and begins at the stage. It touches other disciplines, you know, it gives you a contextual framework in how you can understand the world even, you know. So I think there is a lot of principles within jazz that is needed in society. Absolutely. You know, to kind of think through the complex, like you say, kind of challenges that we're experiencing, specifically here in South Africa. But of course, myself also being a young black girl, you know, jazz gives me the language to be able to articulate some of the things that, you know, in my everyday that I may not have access to doing so. So I use Sonic Conversations as kind of like a through line to be able to, you know, put my music through, but explain it in such a way that it can relate to other things in the world, in everyday life, you know. So, and I think this is the art meets jazz. It's like the thinking around the music, the thinking around the art form, the thinking around, you know, Brasem Nhlangetwa's works, you know, and how we are in conversation with how we think about our discipline. So
it's that unity and diversity literally playing out, and it is art meeting activism and resistance, and seeing where we're headed as a society. And so, Palesa, to stay in touch and to perhaps remind us about where it's happening and how we get access to it, what else we can expect on the lineup. Tell us those details as we wrap up.
Thanks. I think it's very important to also touch on the fact that arts in jazz is a collaborative effort, and we really appreciate the fact that we have a venue that's been really supportive. Art in Jazz will take place on the 7th of August from 6 p.m. Tickets are available on Quicket. We really encourage people to come and support this initiative. It's really about growing the jazz community in Cape Town as a historical city that has always supported Cape Town's jazz scene. We really want to motivate people to come through. It will happen at room 91 by Chef's Warehouse. And it is going to be a wonderful night of celebration.
All right, Palesa and Gabi, thank you for joining us, and we're wishing you all the best ahead of the 7th of August, of course curated by Palesa Segomotso Motsumi in collaboration with very special storytellers and award-winning jazz vocalist Gabi Motuba.